guys, Matt Peeples here, coming to you from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I wanted to take a second just to share a quick story with you. It was a little over a year ago, I was asked to come to the Lutheran Church Extension Fund's national conference and share about social media and its impact in the church. Now, I've seen a lot of people impacted at our church through the use of social media, so I was pretty excited. And so I get there and we get through the first session and everything's great and people seem excited, and the second session's filling up even more than the first, and I'm like, man, this is going well. And so we get through the second session and I'm thinking, man, I just knocked this out of the park. And that's when I got a question that disturbed me. It's coming from the front row, this guy's sitting there and he's raising his hand, and so I'm like, okay, first question, here we go. And he looks at me and he says, did you learn this in seminary? Now, when we learned so much stuff in seminary, I don't know when we would have fit this in. I mean, I'm learning Greek, I'm learning Hebrew, I'm learning how to preach, I'm learning how to teach, I'm learning how to do pastoral care, systematics. When in the world would I have had time for that? And I'm trying to find a nice way of saying, look, you don't have time to do everything, but he kept pressing the question. He wouldn't let it go. Until finally I just gave up and said, no, I didn't learn this in seminary. And then he looked at me and he said a question that disturbed me. He said, why? Why didn't you learn this in seminary? And that bothered me. I couldn't let that question go. I started thinking about it after I had already left the conference. And then it hit me. I didn't learn about it in seminary because it didn't exist when I was in seminary. See, I started seminary in the summer of 2005. I know it doesn't seem like it's that long ago, the summer of 2005. But I graduated in the spring of 2009. And in that time, the world literally changed. See, when I entered seminary, nobody really knew anything about social media or taking a phone and calling it a smartphone. There were no iPhones, right? But all of a sudden, in the time I started seminary to the time I finished, Facebook started, Twitter started, YouTube started, and all of a sudden the dynamics of how we communicate, it began to change. And then 2007, as I'm getting ready to go on my vicarage, what do they release? The iPhone. And it completely changes the way we communicate. And then 2009 hits, and what I realized was this. In those 4 years of seminary, the world had completely changed, and I hadn't even realized it. See, here's the incredible thing. The gospel, it's unchanging. It's never changed. It will never change. And the powerful thing about it is this unchanging gospel has a life-changing power. It's the same message Jesus shared with his disciples, and it changed lives. It's the same message that the disciples shared with their disciples, and it changed their lives. It's the same message that changed your life. It's the same message that changed my life and changed the lives of people at our church. The gospel, it doesn't change. But the way it's communicated, it does. Because the world is constantly changing. And I learned that through that simple question. So how is it we take an unchanging gospel to an ever-changing world? I want to invite you to join us for the day of homiletic reflection as we wrestle through what it looks like to preach in a digital age. How do we preach in an age of social media and iPhones? I mean, it's completely different. You're probably watching this video on a phone or an iPad or maybe a laptop. I'm recording it on my phone in the middle of a Starbucks. So how is it we preach the unchanging gospel, the life-changing, unchanging gospel in an ever-changing world? I want to invite you out to Concordia Seminary, May 2015, to the day of homiletic reflection, where we're going to talk about how you engage the digital age. I'm looking forward to seeing you there.